For many athletes, the daily grind of practice can feel like an endless, monotonous cycle. The pressure to perform, the repetitive drills, and the constant push to improve can lead to burnout and boredom. But what if there was a secret hack that elite athletes use to make going all in not just effective, but surprisingly enjoyable? Well, meet Steph Curry. You probably already know him as the greatest three-point shooter in basketball history. Was his rise to the top just about grinding out thousands of shots week after week like a robot? No. Curry's journey towards absolute mastery was not about the pain and suffering that those who champion hustle culture think is required to become world class. Behind Curry's incredible success lies a practice method that transforms the grind into something that for sure is hard work, but it doesn't end up feeling like it. And so in this video, I'm going to share what this practice method is and also how every single athlete, no matter their sport, can apply it to their own game. So if you're currently experiencing a practice plateau, then this is the video for you. So let's get started. Now, chances are if you're watching this video, you're probably someone who is already quite clued up on what it takes to practice and train well as an athlete. You've most likely heard that those who reach the top often engage in what's known as deliberate practice. This is the concept that birthed the 10,000 hour rule and refers to a special type of practice that is purposeful and systematic. It's not about doing mindless reps. It's about doing things with clear goals and intentions, getting regular feedback, and pushing yourself outside of your comfort zone. And for a long time, psychologists believed that deliberate practice was the route to not only mastery of a skill, but sustained progress, development, and peak performance. And I also believe this until I learned about Steph Curry's rise to the top. You see, Steph Curry was nothing special as a kid. Despite his dad playing in the NBA, Steph didn't look like he would live up to his dad's name. He was a 3-star recruit coming out of high school, and many felt that he just wouldn't be able to cut it at the highest level due to his 2-star body. And despite hustling his way to become the 7th overall pick in the NBA draft, his team, the Golden State Warriors, were still not 100% convinced that this kid coming out of Davidson College would become the world-class guard that they needed. That was until Curry met Brandon Payne, an ex-player turned one-on-one coach who also struggled to make an impact as a player due to his shortcomings in athleticism. And in Curry's first full season in working with Payne, he became the league's top 3-point shooter in terms of 3-point shots made. So what changed for Curry? What did Brandon Payne actually do with him? Well, they just had fun together. Payne's philosophy as a coach starts with one simple principle. There is no boring in our workouts. You see, when it comes to deliberate practice, it's being increasingly shown in research that many high potential athletes often end up experiencing what's termed boreout. A mix of boredom and burnout that comes from endless grinding away at the same skills, drills, and workouts for weeks and months on end. So with Curry, what Brandon Payne did was ensure that at the heart of every practice session was what psychologists call deliberate play. The idea of this is that you still make practice incredibly focused and therefore deliberate on developing certain skills, but you also add in elements of play to still make it enjoyable and fun. Now, it sounds simple and incredibly basic, but typically as you rise the ranks in sport, things get more serious and that childlike enthusiasm slips away, which often leads to many pros falling out of love with the game or just not looking forward to practicing on a daily basis. So Payne would always ensure that the drills he gave Curry always had an element of fun, but not in a gimmick type of way. Curry would have to play 21, where he was given 1 minute to score 21 points through a mixture of shots, but he'd have to sprint to half court and back in between those shots. And the point of a drill like this is to make it a game, but it also mirrors real life games or matches. Because doing something like this mimics the fatigue of a real life game, where you need to jack up a game tying 3 with only a few seconds left on the clock, and you're having to run up the court full sprint to make that shot. In every single session Curry had with Payne, there would be a game to play within each drill. There was always a time to beat or a score to beat. And another key thing that Payne would do is regularly mix up the drills in an unexpected way. This would ensure there was no predictability for Curry, which again, 1, makes it more motivating and fun, but 2, also condition Curry to grow comfortable with the unpredictability that occurs in a real life NBA game. So deliberate play is not about messing around and joking around. It's about getting the most out of yourself and accelerating your development through bringing a greater energy and enthusiasm to practice every single day. If practice feels like too much of a grind, then you just drag your feet. You only focus on ticking off reps instead of doing them with full energy and intention, or you just end up cutting corners. But if it feels playful, you embody that spirit that you had as a child, where you would just play your sport all day and all night until your parents had to literally drag you off the court or pitch. So the question now is, how can you introduce a sense of deliberate play into your practice? Well, one thing you can do is join the arena, my new peak performance coaching community. We've got top athletes from all around the world collectively building top 1% mentalities. And you can join them by checking out the link below. But for now, here are 5 simple general principles of deliberate play that any athlete can implement. 1, always have something to beat. So this goes back to Payne's idea that there always needs to be a score or time to beat. When you have a proximal goal, in other words, something very close to aim for, you naturally increase your effort to reach it. So set yourself challenges such as going through dribbling sequences 5 times in a row without hitting a single cone, or like Curry, trying to score a certain amount of points in a very small time window. Doing this ensures your practice is a challenge instead of a chore. 2, prioritize variety. Naturally, we can all get bored quite quickly of things, even if we love it. Your favorite food might be pizza, but you get sick of it if you had to eat it for breakfast, lunch, and dinner every single day for a week straight. And the same goes for our sports practice and training. So try out new drills and methods every single week. Keep looking for something slightly different so that you satisfy the human desire for novelty. And even if you have to do certain drills consistently, do what Curry would do in terms of mixing the order up in which you do them. 3, add spontaneity. To follow on from the variety point, you can also make it fun through randomly deciding which drills to do, through using things like rolling a dice or flipping a coin. This again keeps you on your toes, super engaged, and also conditions you to be able to instantly react to things. It may be that you roll a 6 and this turns out to be the drill that you least wanted to come up. You then get stuck in and you've not only improved that skill, but also your ability to tackle tough situations at a moment's notice. Other things you can do is randomly decide where to train. You might have a couple of different fields or courts that you could go to. So again, flip a coin to decide on the day. Sometimes a change in environment can break any hint of boredom that might be settling in. Then 4 is to role play. For certain drills, you can imagine certain moments. So convince yourself that you're losing and there's only a few seconds on the clock and that you need to make a shot in order to win or tie the game. As a kid, it's very likely that you played your sport thinking it was the World Cup final or NBA finals, and you'd imagine yourself taking that game-winning shot in front of thousands of people. And it's still a great idea to tap into that now that you're older so that you can get the same buzz from successfully nailing certain movements, skills, or drills. This is also a great way to practice visualization, where you're mentally preparing yourself to not only be able to execute a skill, but really be able to execute it when the pressure is actually on. And of course, this never fully matches the real thing, but the mind is super powerful in convincing yourself that the stakes are far higher than they actually are. So lean into that. Come up with all kinds of scenarios about how important it is to nail the movements related to the drill that you're working on. You'll often find you complete them with a greater sense of urgency and focus. Then lastly, ask questions. It's very easy to fall into a practice rut of that bore out and then just accept it, thinking that that's just the reality of training and working hard as an athlete. But the very elite, like Curry, constantly ask themselves questions in order to change their situation or how to increase their engagement with all that they're working on. So regularly ask yourself simple questions like, if this was to be twice as fun, what would this look like? Or what would make this feel more enjoyable? And your answer to those questions will vary, but they will give you clarity on what actions you should then take. It may be that to make something feel more enjoyable, you need to actually drop a drill for a couple of weeks because you've just gotten super sick of it and you just need to spend a bit of time away from it to rest up and re-energize yourself. Or it may be that you need to spend more time training with friends or teammates if you're doing a lot of solo practice and that you're actually just missing out on the social and competitive side of practice. But you can only work this out through constant reflection and refinement. And the only way to get that is through asking yourself questions on a regular basis. So that's deliberate play. This video has been heavily inspired by an awesome chapter in Adam Grant's book, Hidden Potential. So props to him for allowing me to learn about this and share my take and summary with you guys. Honestly, check this book out if you're someone who wants to fulfill your potential. It's one of the best that I've read in a while. And another thing that fuels practicing to the best of our abilities is sustaining our energy levels. So to keep yours fully topped up day after day, you should watch this video next.